international car theft ring. It comes after several homes were raided in the Tomball area early this morning.
With over 1 million car thefts happening each year since 2022, this crime has been a constant threat to American motorists. The numbers have been increasing each year, with an unexpected surge among EVs in 2024. This was so unusual that Elon Musk, a leading pioneer in the EV industry, had to give a public statement to warn people about specific tracking devices used for stealing cars before advising on what to do if they happen to find one on their vehicle. What are these devices and how have they managed to bypass advanced security systems? Join us as we take a closer look at these little devices that caught his attention. Custom hooks and turbo keys. Aside from its beautiful beaches, diverse culture, and mild climate, the state of California also stands out for having the highest number of car thefts in recent years. With the underground car theft network having great success in recent years, one might think the masterminds behind this use the latest and greatest technologies available to pull it off. But some Californians who lost their vehicles in recent months tell us that is not the case. Unbelievable as it sounds, the first step only requires a laptop, magnet GPS, a transparent fishing line, a few cables, and some duct tape. This simple yet effective method has been demonstrated many times on the internet through viral comedy sketches on social media. With the high rates of car theft in the state, many car owners park their cars in the garage. Most of them do this without knowing their vehicles already have a magnet GPS attached by thieves without their consent and without proper lighting and surveillance. This is where the theft begins. After almost a week of studying the owner's routine with the car through the magnet GPS, the car thieves would attach a strong yet thin thread to the back of the vehicle through the duct tape while it is still parked outside. After the vehicle is taken inside with the garage's entrance shut before midnight, the thieves would gain access by using the strong thread attached to roll the door high enough for the car to pass underneath. With that, they get access into the garage, almost ready to get what they came for. But here comes the difficult part, which is getting into the car. While one thief takes care of the garage door, the other thief, usually a tech whiz, immediately gets to work at the door of the vehicle. For traditional gasoline vehicles with simple lock and key mechanisms, a simple tool known as the turbo decoder is used. But for the modern electric cars with far better security systems, it gets a bit tricky, and this is where the magnetic GPS comes in. First, the hacker uses a special software made to run on unassigned code from the car's manufacturer. Certain brands have codes that are unique to them, while many others run on the same protocol. The hacker uses this tool to discern the car's unique registration info generated by the owner's movement patterns and location data. These are mainly gotten through the magnetic GPS attached about a week prior to this, and with it, the hacker gains access to the car's unique VIN and a special one-time passcode through which they determine the specific turbo key that grants them access to the car without raising a fuss. Once inside, the hackers attach a cable from their laptop to the car's OBD port. This port was made to allow technicians access the car's computer to fix bugs and run diagnostics on its current firmware. And through this, the hacker disables all alarm systems and gains full control of the car. While doing all this at once might sound like a lot to pull off, the truth is that it all happens in less than 2 minutes. Once done, the hacker drives the car out of the garage, waits for the other to carefully roll down the garage door before driving off as quietly as possible. Because of how well it works, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration tells us at least one vehicle gets stolen every 30 seconds in the United States, leading to a total of at least 700,000 by the end of the year. With the total number reaching 1 million each year from 2022, many other methods cover the remaining fraction. And with many cars using the latest security protocols, most of these thefts required the magnet GPS to work. To study these other methods and how they all require the magnet GPS, stay with us as we examine what it once was, how it works, and why many manufacturers still struggle with it. So without further ado, let's get to it. The magnet GPS. Magnet GPS systems have an interesting history that goes way back to the early 2000s. You see, life was much different back then. Without the affordable GPS-enhanced smartphones and Bluetooth trackers we have today, most parents had to be very careful about taking their children and pets to crowded areas, even in relatively safe and beautiful places like Disneyland or the local amusement park. Losing children, vehicles, and pets in public spaces was much more common than it is today, even though it didn't happen all the time. One notable incident that gained a lot of popularity happened on July 4th, 2001, during an Independence Day celebration at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. One family known as the Smiths had traveled from Virginia to join the festivities. Sadly, this period of celebration quickly turned to a moment of misery when the parents lost their daughter, Emily, on their way to see the fireworks, and things weren't looking good. Hundreds of enforcement officials searched for Emily, but over 2 hours passed and there was no sign of her. After multiple public announcements and failed attempts, the little girl was found by a park ranger near the Lincoln Memorial. Emily believed her parents would show up soon, but was unaware of the trouble she had caused by her absence. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that Emily had wandered off earlier to get a balloon she liked when her parents weren't looking, before getting lost in the crowd. Though this story had a happy ending, it was a much different experience for Michael Thompson, a young man living in downtown Los Angeles in mid-March of 2002 when his 1998 Honda Civic was stolen from his garage. He reported what happened to the Los Angeles Police Department, but without any affordable tracking system available back then, the car has not been found, even to this day. Michael's case was just one out of several, as the United States Department of Transportation later revealed that over 1.2 million cars were stolen that same year, with the numbers set to increase by at least 100,000 in 2003 in the coming years. Tracking systems existed back then, but they weren't cheap enough to solve every domestic crime. Realizing the growing need for widespread tracking systems, various teams of engineers worked hard on various ways they could make GPS trackers cheap enough for the average person. This way, there would be fewer cases of stolen cars and children getting lost in crowded areas. For it to work, these smaller and cheaper GPS systems should be easy to attach and remove from whatever needs to be kept safe without needing bolts and screws. The prototypes were sold by various teams to delivery companies to keep track of their vehicles in late 2003. Thanks to this, robberies were less common and deliveries were much more efficient. After performing well with the delivery companies, the prototypes were given to various law enforcement groups to test how well they could be used for solving various domestic crimes. The authorities found them very helpful, as it allowed them to monitor the movement of suspects without needing to meet them in person. Many organized crimes were discovered and addressed through these devices, and it didn't take long for other agencies to get involved. Multiple units were sold to these agencies, including the latest prototypes close enough to the final product that would be released to the masses a few years later. After 6 months of using these products, both groups gave their reviews and suggestions. Though most of the feedback was good, the final products weren't made public until over 2 years later. Early 2005 was when the product was first revealed by the Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior. During a famous tech expo, the Research Institute unveiled its much smaller set of affordable pet trackers. Other companies like Tractive would later take notes on how to produce better and more portable trackers of their own. Soon enough, magnets were added to these devices, and people came up with more innovative ways of using them. Parents used them to keep track of their children, while drivers used them to keep track of their cars. Sadly, these innovative means of using technology were further exploited for the wrong reasons, including stalking celebrities by attaching the smallest magnetic trackers to their cars. In some cases, the car was the target, which was ironic because these devices were built to prevent belongings from getting lost and not the other way around. This crime almost grew into a trend in the late 2010s and almost became a major problem for the U.S. Department of Transportation, and that was just the beginning. Documented cases of GPS misuse. Multiple warnings were given by the department on various public platforms about the growing trend of misusing GPS devices, but these pleas were mostly ignored until December 2018, when a man named Sean Thomason was arrested for using a device like this to stalk his ex-girlfriend across multiple states for at least 6 months. The relationship before they separated was very difficult, as they argued almost every day over how aggressive he was. His ex, whose name wasn't made public, felt she was being followed for several months but couldn't prove it to anyone. It wasn't until her car broke down one day that her local mechanic found the magnet GPS attached to the bottom of the car. Finding out what it was, she dialed 911 immediately. Law enforcement officers tracked him down to a nearby hotel not far from the workshop where the tracker was found. There they found several harmful weapons and tools, including a taser, black electrical tape, ammunition, and latex gloves. When asked about what he did, Sean admitted to placing the tracker on the car, but insisted it had only been there for a week or two. When asked why he did that, he said he just needed to talk to her, but she kept avoiding him. Later on, it was revealed that he was planning to confront his ex at her new apartment with the weapons they found in the hotel. Hearing this story, many people wondered how he was able to get his hands on such a device. About a decade ago, something like this could only be sold in the black market, but now they can be found in public spaces like eBay for as low as $20. The old dream of making trackers available to everyone back in 2005 had become a huge success, forming the $3 billion GPS industry we have today. But it seems to have caused a much bigger problem along the way. This problem was made more obvious in November 2021 when another similar situation came up in Duluth, Minnesota. In a viral video obtained by Fox News, a St. Louis County sheriff was on the phone with a man who was giving her turn-by-turn updates on the whereabouts of his girlfriend. According to the young man, his girlfriend had been getting involved in various illegal pursuits, and he was genuinely worried about her. Thanks to each of them allegedly sharing Google locations, both persons could keep track of one another. Believing she was a criminal, the sheriff followed his directions until the woman was found. When the woman was asked about getting involved in illegal activities, she said it was all a lie, while presenting her phone as evidence. The officers inspected the phone and found out that it had been switched off for almost 6 hours. She asked how they were able to find her, and the officials revealed her boyfriend as the one who gave them her location. Contrary to what they were told, it turned out she wasn't dating him anymore, and he was instead using the police to keep track of her. Having heard of Sean Thomason's story, the woman suspected her ex must have also planted a tracker on her car, and after the deputies searched, they found the tracker hidden right under the rear passenger seat. When she was told that they had found a tracker in her car as she suspected, tears poured out from her eyes as she talked about her terrible experiences in the past few weeks. She had tried moving to different places across the state after the breakup, but was always found in public places by her ex. He had been stalking her for weeks on end, eventually getting desperate enough to get the police involved despite being the criminal. With several stories like these put out there by verified sources, many people became aware of the dangers associated with these devices, and as a result, the number of cases declined rapidly. By the end of 2020, it seemed the crime didn't exist anymore. It was as if the criminal world had moved on to the next big thing, but everything changed when Apple unveiled its next line of products the following year. On April 20th, 2021, at the company's spring-loaded event in California, Apple's engineering program manager, Carolyn Wolfman, unveiled the AirTag, a small, round tracker that can be easily attached to keys, backpacks, and handbags. It uses Bluetooth to connect to iPhones and iPads, and with replaceable batteries lasting an entire year, along with a backup alarm system, making it even easier to find, the AirTag grew popular in a matter of weeks. But along came a big problem: the AirTag controversy. On May 15, 2023, Fox News published an article on how the growing use of Apple's AirTag had only caused more problems for those living in Minnesota. Through this article, Mark Lanterman, the chief tech officer working with over 30 law enforcement services across the state, reported that he had seen multiple cases of these devices being used to track down people without their permission. And with the magnetic AirTag device being small enough to stick to the bottom of a car, it is something the average person would never find without putting in a bit of effort. Knowing this, many criminals have used these devices to keep track of certain vehicles owned by celebrities and former loved ones for all the wrong reasons. Of course, Apple saw this coming and put in some protective measures to prevent misuse, including the alarm system that allows people to know where it is, and a notification software on iPhones that pops up when the user is followed by an AirTag. The problem, however, is that anyone with a smartphone can go to public sites like eBay right now and get a modified AirTag with all protective measures removed at a fair price. This means no alarm beeps or notifications as far as the victim followed is concerned, and on top of that, it was also discovered by Fox News investigators
Their tracking devices are small pieces of technology designed to help people keep
that the AirTag took at least 2 hours to ring and over 9 hours to send an urgent notification to the iPhone. According to Mark, a lot of bad things can happen within that time frame, and he publicly called out Apple for not considering this before putting out their product back in 2021. In response, a spokesperson for the company said they were working on improving the system to avoid unwanted tracking in the near future. To prove this, Apple joined hands with Google to build a new app for Android users who were being followed by an AirTag. But there is the twist: software spoofing. While collaborative efforts from Apple and Google have gone a long way to prevent criminal activities involving AirTags, as the total number of car thefts in the US continues to increase each year, EVs have become the biggest victims in recent months, despite being some of the most secure cars ever built. Their biggest selling points, like autopilot and advanced security protocols running on software, often turns out to be their biggest weakness. This was most evident in mid-2019, when a group of young hackers from Regulus Cyber launched a GPS spoofing attack on a Model 3 EV. They did this publicly, using unassigned code to manipulate the car's location data. By doing this, they were able to make the car drive to various places on its own without the user's consent. And this was just one exploit out of several. The team of hackers did this publicly to demonstrate how relying too much on autopilot software exposes many weaknesses in the car's security. About a week later, the Model 3 received a software update to fix these issues. It even came with more security protocols like the famous pin to drive and sentry modes. The first was a feature that required entering a special code before having access to the car, while the second was aimed at pointing out suspicious behavior around the car using inbuilt cameras. As expected with hackers, these protocols were easily exploited in a matter of days. It was discovered that one could bypass pin to drive by starting the car with the old version of the mobile app, while the sentry mode was exploited by either simply covering the cameras with tape or walking towards it in a less suspicious way. Because of how easy it is to bypass these highly advanced protocols with the simplest tricks. Until a lasting solution is found, Elon Musk warns users to always call for help each time they notice a magnet GPS or any suspicious object attached to their car. So what do you think? Will there ever be a lasting solution to this problem? Or will the latest cars keep relying on software updates to manage the situation? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also, click on the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.